Well, back now to our top story as we await reaction from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to a letter Fox News uncovered this morning. It is from a group of Democrats who were defeated in the midterm elections that asks her to step out of the leadership spotlight, saying in part, quote, "One mark of a strong leader is the ability to discern when it's time to pass the baton." Susan Estrich is a former Dukakis campaign manager and now a Fox News contributor, and Ben Ferguson is a radio talk show host. So, Susan, this is rather extraordinary because it's not coming from, the Republicans have been jubilant. Michael Steele and the Republican National Committee, they have a big banner now after saying fire Pelosi, fire Pelosi. Now outside the RNC, they have a sign that reads hire Pelosi because they think this is good for their side. And now you've got the Democrats who say, they were defeated because of Nancy Pelosi and the policies they voted for, saying, you got to go. This is not going to be helpful. And you say what?
Well, I say she's in the middle, I guess. From what I understand, she's, caucused with various Democrats in the House, including primarily those who kept their seats, not probably those who lost them, and has come to the conclusion that she has the votes to be reelected as, not reelected, elected as the minority leader, and, is going to continue the fight. And I think, more power to her if she can pull it together. But she and the Democrats in the House have a big challenge ahead of them.
But it's definitely power to her, Ben. I mean, there's no question about that. But the question is whether it's good for the Democrats. The thing that caught my eye is the New York Times. The New York Times editorial page came out this weekend and said, is she really the best the Democrats can come up with? And they went on to say what they need is what Pelosi's been unable to provide. And that's a clear and convincing voice to help Americans understand, in the Times view, that it's not the Democratic policies that are bankrupting the country.
Look, these Democrats wrote this letter. This is probably the first time I've agreed with them in the last 2 years, but I hope they keep her. I mean, she's great for fundraising. She's great to show the difference between conservatives and liberals. Obviously, the American people are not a big fan of her anymore, and the way that she acts so elitist, I think, when people are struggling, the way that she acts like things are okay when things are not okay, the way that she acts like everybody's behind her when they're not behind her, and how it seems that she and the president just don't get it, that the country chose a different choice. So, as a conservative, I'd love to run against her and use her as the face of the party with Obama. I hope she and Harry Reid and the president are side by side, arm in arm for the next, 2 years.
See, Susan, apparently these more moderate House Democrats are listening to that message from Ben and Republicans like him, because they begin their letter to her by saying this: many of us want the chance to run again and reclaim the seats that we lost on Tuesday. And then they write, with you as the leader of House Democrats, the hangover of 2010 stands no chance of subsiding. They say the Republicans will further demonize you, and it will scare potential Democratic candidates out. Do they have a point?
Well, that may well be how they see it, and certainly if you lost your job less than a week ago, and if you made some hard votes for her, it's hard to see how you wouldn't feel that way. But are they right? Time will tell. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, things could turn around greatly in 2 years.
Ben, Nancy Pelosi warned of this. I mean, she gave an interview to ABC News, and actually she said after the health care bill was passed, something similar. Remember when she said this? She spoke with Elizabeth Vargas. Look at the quote. Hold on. Let's put it up on the board so I can read it. Okay, she writes, this is about her members. They know that this will take courage, meaning the health care vote. But the American people need it. Why are we here? We're not here just to self-perpetuate our service in Congress. We're here to do the job for the American people, to get them results. And she was basically saying, you probably won't be reelected, some of you moderate Democrats, but you have to do what's right.
Well, it's easy for her to say that because she's in a district where she's going to get elected pretty much no matter what she does, because it's an extremely liberal district. The problem is the rest of the people that we're caucusing with her don't have that luxury. I mean, she's in the perfect place for Nancy Pelosi to constantly win elections. But I think the biggest difference was Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, and the president all said the same thing the president said, which was the difference between now and 1994 when the Democrats got kicked out of the House is the president. Remember when he said, "You've got me"? Well, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and the president of the United States of America don't have anything anymore in the House. So I think that's why these people are mad, is they were promised that we'll come get you reelected and we're so popular. They were maybe dumb to believe that, and obviously they lost their jobs, so of course they're mad. But I mean, if she continues to stay in the leadership position, the American people are going to continue to say they still just don't get it, and we'll remind them again 2 years from now.
Well, Susan, this is obviously, I guess, a good thing for Nancy Pelosi. She seems to think so. And the liberal wing of the Democratic Party, they love her. They feel the same as the San Francisco voters do. But I think it's interesting, you know, her own words, we're not here just to self-perpetuate. Should she be listening to that advice right now? Should she be doing what Ben and others think, and even some Democrats, these moderates think, is what's best for the Democratic Party?
Well, I mean, you know, I think that if she thought she was going to run a race and lose, she would not do it. That would not be good for the Democratic Party.
She can count votes. She knows she's going to win. But the question is it what's best for the party?
Well, it depends, you know, it all depends, Megyn. In hindsight, you know, somebody will be right about this. But, you know, she took a big hit last week. I disagree on that. She took a huge hit. This isn't about getting reelected in San Francisco. As you know, for Nancy, this is about, you know, running the House. She took a huge hit. Now, the question is, what is she going to do? You know, I respect somebody who gets up, brushes themselves off, and says, you know what? I am going to, you know, fight this one out. And I am not going to walk off into the sunset and play with the grandkids here.
It's not that. You look at a guy like Newt Gingrich. He won re-election when the Republicans lost the House, and what did he do? He stepped down. And guess what? He's come back, and people are talking about him for President of the United States of America. Sometimes you got to know when it's time to leave for a little bit. She didn't have to go play with the grandkids. She could still have a life as a speaker. She could still have a life as going out there writing a book or whatever. But if you continue to genuinely believe as a former advisor that you should advise the Democratic Party to rally behind this woman, they're going to get their brains beat in 2 years from now, period.
Well, I don't know if they will or not.
She could also just be, you know, a congresswoman. She doesn't actually have to run for minority leader. But
yeah, but you know, Nancy Pelosi's not okay with just being a congresswoman. This goes back to the issue, I think, of narcissism. She wants to be powerful, and she wants people to talk about her.
Don't they all have it? It's like it comes as soon as you get the pass into Washington D.C., doesn't it, Susan? You know, you get that little like inflated ego and the power.
Have you ever met an alderman who didn't see a president when he shaved in the morning? I mean, seriously.
Great closing line. We'll leave it at that. Susan, thanks so much. Ben, you too.
Thank you.